What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are here to talk about a Kino Lorber 4K release. I don't feel like I've been talking about enough Kino Lorber recently, but we are talking about Cujo today on 4K. This is a 1983 film, of course, based on a Stephen King novel and directed by Louis Teague, who also directed the film Alligator, which came out last year from Scream Factory, and I quite enjoyed that one. So I was excited to watch this movie because I'm a big, I would consider myself a big Stephen King fan. I read a lot of his books when I was younger. I've seen a ton of his adaptations, and Cujo was one that just always escaped me. I never watched this when I was a kid. I watched Man's Best Friend a lot when I was a kid with Lance Henriksen, but I never watched Cujo. But I feel like I always heard this was one of Stephen King's best adaptations, one of his scariest adaptations. So I was really excited to get into this 4K, watch this film for the first time, and also experience it in glorious 4K. So before we get into this review though, guys, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that right now. We talk about physical media on this channel, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me every single day. So if you like that kind of thing, hit that subscribe button. Also like this video. Please like this video. It helps out the channel, helps out the algorithm, the dreaded YouTube algorithm, and I would appreciate it. And also let me know your thoughts on Cujo. I feel like as this was coming out on 4K, a lot of people started expressing different opinions than what I've heard my entire life, which is Cujo is one of the best Stephen King adaptations. A lot of people were saying this movie's very boring, it's not very good at all. Let me know your thoughts about the movie in that comment section below, and then turn on bell notifications for all future videos. I've got tons of reviews and content coming. It's such a busy time of the year right now, guys. It's absolutely insane. But let's talk about this actual movie, Cujo. This came out, like I said, in 1983. Big year for Stephen King adaptations in 1983. We also had The Dead Zone come out this year, and we had Christine, which is one of my personal favorite, not only John Carpenter films, but also Stephen King adaptations. So 1983 was a huge year for Stephen King adaptations. Now, getting into Cujo, this of course is starring Dee Wallace. She was really the only person I feel like I recognized in this movie. This was coming off of her massive success, acting success in E.T., of course. E.T. was a huge movie when it came out. She did that in 1982, but she also did The Howling in 1981. So she was kind of, you know, a genre actress for sure. I would say more implanted in the horror genre, but, you know, she did the big, you know, box office success of E.T. So I imagine after that, she could probably do whatever the hell she wanted. I think she even talked about it in the special feature in this, that she did it as a favor to somebody that was working on this movie to come in and be the star. So yeah, Cujo, the movie though, I think that it's a good movie. I liked this movie overall. It's a little slow, and I think that there's a lot of forced melodrama in the first 45 minutes that just doesn't feel like it was really necessary for the story. And it kind of worked against Dee Wallace as a character, I feel like. By the time we get to the end, and you're supposed to be behind her, you're supposed to be rooting for her. She's going through this harrowing, you know, moment as a mother to have to protect her son against this dog in this car. So you want to be totally and completely behind Dee Wallace as a character, but it's really hard to because she spent the first 45 minutes of the movie fooling around on her husband. So it's, which, you know, kind of makes her a complex kind of character. I guess I do appreciate that a little bit. I just watched this movie right before I came here to talk about it, so I'm still kind of processing my thoughts, but I just don't feel like all that adultery and stuff was really necessary for the movie. But alongside that, you got this family drama in the first 45 to 50 minutes, but you also had the build up to the actual Saint Bernard that gets bit by a bat in the very beginning of the movie. Like, this happens immediately. Cujo's running around chasing a rabbit, and he gets his nose stuck in a cave and a bat bites it, which of course is supposed to imply that he's getting rabies, and then he becomes rabid. So, but it doesn't happen immediately. There's a slow like build up and burn to his kind of transformation, if you want to call it that. Slow build up. So when he actually does turn, there is some pretty like gruesome scenes, you know, involved in some deaths with the dog. So I did appreciate that. The movie does pick up eventually, but I just think those first like 45 minutes, it's pretty slow, and I just feel like story-wise, it's a little unnecessary. But the last 30 minutes with her in the car with her son, there's some really, really tense moments, especially like, you know, involving her son. Like at one point, like just as a parent, like it was hard to watch, but like he couldn't get enough air because it was really hot and stuffy in the car. And it was just like, what the hell would I do if I was in this circumstance? Like that is absolutely horrifying, but really enjoyable well, not exactly enjoyable, but really tense, thrilling last 30 to 40 minutes of this movie. I heard some complaints about the kid in this movie being very annoying and screaming, but like to me, that just ups the intensity and the impact, overall effect of the movie for me personally, because I have kids, and when there's a stressful situation going on, that is sometimes how they act. So it feels very realistic to me for that kind of thing to take place. So I didn't find the kid annoying. If anything, it was adding to the terror of what was going on. And the actual like look of Cujo is really good. They did some really good stuff, like makeup effects wise, to really just make him look disgusting and just gnarly as hell in those last 30 minutes. But overall, as a movie, I think it's really solid. I think it's a really good, solid Stephen King adaptation. Now, getting into the transfer of this is a native 4K restoration with Dolby Vision, HDR10. So Kino Lorber spared no expense here. Now, I'm never exactly sure because it says Paramount on the side. Who does the restoration? I've heard before that Paramount does all their own restorations, but I've also heard that Kino Lorber's done some of the Paramount restorations. So I don't know who exactly did this 4K restoration, but it does look really great. It's not the best Kino Lorber 4K that I've ever seen, but I think it's super solid across the board. The detail is there. It just has a nice natural tone to it. At least as far as it looks, the grain is definitely intact. It has that very filmic look to it. And when you actually see the dog up close, snarling, and just all the mucus and blood all over his face, saliva, he's foaming at the mouth, like the close-up shots of the dog look disgusting as hell, and it looks awesome in 4K. So like some of those spots just really highlighted to me how good this restoration was, like when you saw that dog up close. So those scenes definitely look great. All the scenes though at the end in the car, like when you see Dee Wallace sweating, the way that her kid looks and the blood on them, and just the car itself, how it looks with the house in the background, all that stuff looks spectacular. So I just think across the board, it's not, like I said, it's not the best, most stunning restoration I've ever seen, but there's no real weak spots either. I thought it was just really consistent picture quality wise, just across the board looked really great. So, and especially like I saw some images from the past Blu-ray releases that came out. I think Olive Films did a Blu-ray of this. Lionsgate apparently did a Blu-ray of this back in the day. And then of course, Eureka did one, I think back in 2019, which we'll talk about again here in a second. But when they were comparing it and some of the special features I was watching, some of the past like Blu-ray releases, you could just really tell the differences in picture quality and color tone. Like the older Blu-rays just looked super flat. So I think that Kino Lorber did an excellent job with this restoration, you know, pretty much across the board. So thought it looked great. And audio wise, you do have the DTS Master Audio 2.0. You also have the 5.1. Thought everything sounded great. I'm listening to it on my soundbar that kind of simulates that 5.1 setup. I do have the subwoofer as well. So when you heard the dog, you know, Cujo just snarling and spitting everywhere, it just sounds fantastic. And I was actually watching it with my dog right next to me, and every single time he heard Cujo, he kind of perked up a little bit. So audio-wise, just sounded great, and the score to this movie is really great as well. So I thought everything sounded fantastic, so no issues with the audio. And getting into the packaging real quick, it's real simple, you know, with Kino Lorber, you just have the slipcover. There's no big elaborate packaging, but I do appreciate the Kino Lorber packaging. I appreciate how they have, you know, the actual fonts, the original fonts of the movie on the spine. And I think that looks super cool and really adds to it. So yeah, Kino Lorber packaging, really simple, but really effective in my opinion. You know, I don't know if this is the original theatrical poster of Cujo, but I really love this image right here. And then I'll flip it and kind of show you right there. We'll talk about the special features in a second, but that's all the features. You got some images, you got the synopsis, you got all the specs down there at the bottom and the casting list. And then we'll take it out of the slipcover. And right there you have the case with the same artwork on it. I'll go ahead and flip it. I don't think that there's reversible, but I always check. No, there is not. And you do have 2 discs here. You have the 4K and you also have the Blu-ray that does have these special features on it. Now, getting into the special features, usually I would complain about a release not having anything new, but in the case of Cujo, like, there's just so much that's been done before special features wise, and the fact that they include it all with this release, I think is super cool. This is really the ultimate Cujo collector's set right here. You had the Blu-ray, you had the 4K, so you get to watch the film in the best possible picture quality, and you have all of the past special features that there has been with Cujo. So the Eureka release that came out in 2019 actually had a ton of new interviews, one of which was one with Dee Wallace, which was like a 40-minute long interview. You also get roundtable discussions with the director and Dee Wallace as well. You get, which is called Cujo Revisited. You get Dog Days, which is the making of Cujo, which is an entire documentary about the making of Cujo. You get 3 audio commentaries here, 2 with the director Louis Teague, and then 1 with the author of Nope, Nothing Wrong Here, the making of Cujo, which apparently there was a lot of issues with the production of this film, at least starting off. Well, I think once they got Louis Teague, things kind of smoothed over a little bit, but there's a whole book written on the making of Cujo, and the actual guy that wrote the book does a commentary here, which is pretty damn cool. But yeah, that Eureka release that came out back in 2019 had loads of special features, and they're all included here. So the fact that Kino Lorber got all those special features and included them in this set for the US audience, I just think it's super cool. And there was just so much there, and that wasn't that long ago. That was 4 years ago. So I tend to be more understanding of a new release not having new features if the previous release happened not too long ago and it had tons of features. Because really, what are you going to add to this at this point? I mean, you have a 40-minute long interview from 4 years ago with Dee Wallace. What is she going to add to what she said 4 years ago? So I just think that this is loaded with special features. It is really the ultimate Cujo release. And yeah, I think it's awesome. I think the movie's really good. I think it looks really great. The special features here that are included are incredible. And I think this is actually, if you're a Cujo fan, I think it's a must own. I think you need to get it. It's $24.98 right now, currently on Amazon. I will provide that Amazon link down below in the description. So yeah, I do recommend this release though at the end of the day, especially if you're a fan of this movie and want to see it in the best possible picture quality. But thank y'all so much for watching my review of Cujo on 4K. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave me your comments on Cujo down below. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.